Welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle, and this mid-month we are delighted to have a special guest joining Ben, Becca and I. We have Adam from Devonshire DIS Podcast, and we know how much you've been a follower of our show, and we have been of yours too. Having listened to your latest podcast, I am sure we're going to get onto talking about many things, but I have to admit, taking a 7-month-year-old across to Orlando will certainly be deserving of a award all on its own.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I
go. Welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle. It's good to have you on this show, and we're just getting all of our sort of our pleasantries in the way. I've not even said hello to Ben and Becca yet as well. I'm busy welcoming you because you're the guest. So, here we go.
It's great to meet you guys, virtually after, Ben and I have spoken over messages. You've been my support unit for different bits and pieces regarding podcasting and Disney in general. So it's great to
podcasting
be the other side.
Interesting field, isn't it?
Yeah, I would absolutely.
It's different when you get behind the microphone and you get the editing side. But yeah, we all do this for fun. We love Disney, and it's been great to help you out over the years. And I just can't wait. I think we're all in that mode now. January's gone past. We're now into February, planning that next trip.
Yeah.
I can't imagine taking a 7-month-old to Disney World.
I can't decide whether it's a stroke of genius or complete.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle.
We'll get to that, I think. Anyway, before we begin, as you're a regular listener to the show, we thought we'd dust off our carousel of questions, because actually this is it becomes a part of our tradition in some ways, and it's meant to be a quick fire show starter, but as always, I'll always give the advice of go with your heart and then wake up tomorrow morning and regret half of your answers, because I think that's what everyone does, and you're thinking, oh, I wish I'd said that. So
can we still call it quick fire? Because the average length of this segment is normally 30 to 40 minutes.
We'll get there.
After
Don't
the years
worry.
we've been doing this.
We all did ours. It was a minute. Huh?
That is
We
true.
had a minute to answer these questions.
We were under strict
That is
instructions, Becca, weren't we?
Yeah,
We were.
that is true. Well, do you know what? I'll kick it off with the first question. What is your favourite park?
See, it's not a quick answer, is it? It never is, and it changes with every trip you go on.
Yeah,
I think we've gone through obviously Magic Kingdom and the magic of that. We've gone through Animal Kingdom. I think has been quite consistent with myself and my wife over the years, because we love our animals and it's just such a unique park in comparison to the others. We mentioned on our recent episode that EPCOT was the one that really grasped us this time in 2024, just mainly because it seemingly was a whole park again, just having that central area back. I do miss a fountain, not gonna lie. I love the fountain, but also I do appreciate the new seating area that's there, and obviously Walt is sitting there as well, greeting guests that side of the Spaceship Earth, which I absolutely love. So I think as of the 3rd of February 2025, my quick answer would be EPCOT.
Epcot's definitely grown on us over the years, and it's become our favourite.
It's definitely a grown-up park, I think.
Yeah.
Right, so what is a ride that you hate?
Ooh, ride that I hate. I don't hate many. I have a genuine dislike for multiple times riding Small World in one trip. I can just about handle one, but when it gets to 2, 3, 4, that song is then the only audio I hear for the remainder of the Walt Disney World trip, irrespective of which ride or which show I've seen. So if I'm gonna have to throw shade or hate on any of them, and I'm sorry, kids, I'm probably gonna have to be Small World.
I think it's one you can only do once a trip.
If that.
Yeah, definitely.
For the last time we did it.
It's a strange one. It's a strange one.
I think the thing is, there's not many other rides that have the same sort of earworm. Apart from Mickey Minnie's, nothing can stop us now.
It's a great big beautiful tomorrow. I think the last time we did It's a Small World, we were with Robin,
Yeah, but I think Carousel of Progress though is a classic, and you cannot put that in a ride that you
It's a Small World.
The thing is, you've now set everyone off listening. They've now got either Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, It's a Small World, or nothing can stop us now, just going straight through their mind. And actually, they won't bother listening to the next question. So that's probably an even better one.
Yeah.
Go on, Adam. What's the most overrated snack at Walt Disney World?
The most overrated snack.
Yeah.
I think historically it's been the turkey leg. I've never got it. I've never understood why that is a staple snack at Walt Disney World. I recall eating it as a child because it was a challenge back then to try and tackle what seemingly was a genetically modified turkey leg. Because I've never seen a turkey with that size leg. So yeah, I'll probably go with the old traditional, the old turkey leg. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
We've
never
had it.
No.
I've never.
I wouldn't recommend it.
I have once. It's the smell. It's the smell more than anything else.
Yeah.
It's just like,
it's not.
and then just it's enough to actually. If that was the only option of food, it'd make you turn vegetarian. I'd be vegetarian before very long. That would be it.
Well, back in the day, that was the smell of Frontierland, wasn't it? So, like, these days, obviously, there's a load of fabulous small businesses that are doing wax melts and candles, so on and so forth, for the smells of all the parks. Imagine having a turkey leg smell candle in your living room for a bit of ambience of the evening.
I'm sure
for
someone sells
Thanksgiving
one.
and Christmas, but
There are other spells I'd rather.
yeah, no, that's true. But so, what's your favourite transportation mode in Walt Disney World?
Oh, this is, again, it's a bit like park for me. I'm not going to lie. It's on a heavy rotation. I think if I'm going to go with the consistent answer, I'm just a lover of the monorail. I really am. I love the history. I love the nostalgia of a monorail. I appreciate the efficiency and the quality of travel on a Skyliner. I also appreciate it's not for everyone. My wife is not a fan of heights, so the Skyliner is something we would do potentially once on a trip, and that's about it. But for me, the monorail wins out. I just absolutely love it. For me, a Walt Disney World trip is made if you're heading on the monorail, and I don't care where. Could be the Contemporary, could be the Poly. I could just ride to the Ticket and Transportation Centre and back just for the sake of using it. I just have to be on a monorail.
Yeah.
There's just something, at least once a trip, going on the monorail.
Yeah.
And just hearing that safety spiel with the doors closing.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's just something about it that there's just so many things in Walt Disney World that when you've been a few times that you know when you're there. And it's just that speech, and you just go like, yeah, I'm here. I can see the Magic Kingdom. I know that's where I'm headed.
Exactly.
I'm with your wife when it comes to the Skyliner.
Really?
Spend all day on
You could spend, you then could spend
I love
time
the
it.
Skyliner,
I sit on that Skyliner and I will have my eyes closed until I'm off of it.
Yeah.
I think you're more scared on the Skyliner than you are on Everest.
Yes. Everest's over quicker.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. It's not for everyone. I appreciate having the option, and for like some of those resorts where you've got to wait a long old time for a bus, and I've been there for say like a pop and an Art of Animation back in the day when you are queued, especially after the end of the night, for hours waiting for that next bus to arrive. Having a couple of parks which you can access pretty quickly on a Skyliner, I think is a great addition. They will no doubt do more. Hopefully just a little bit lower for the likes of Becca and Lauren.
That'd be good.
It's so difficult, and I think that's the thing is queues scare a lot of people because we've gotten Skyline a few times at like park opening and close, and especially the queue like when you're walking out of EPCOT or Hollywood Studios, and you look at it and go, I might get a bus or an Uber because it'll be quicker, but actually the queue moves really quickly. It just looks long, and because it's so easy just to. And I feel like in the Skyline they can't cram as many people in as the monorail.
Yes, true.
So that's
silly.
Yeah, that's quite nice.
Yeah.
You can usually get a seat.
Yeah, that's true.
So what is your favourite table service restaurant?
Ooh, table service. Our experience going with kiddos, especially recently, we don't tend to do too many table service. But the one thing we certainly do when we go over is make budget for a character dining meal, because we do love our character dinings. So if I were to consider those as table service, my ultimate is Garden Grill. I love it. I love the fact that you obviously have fabulous food there because it's all produce, which is, well, some of it at least is done downstairs, which you can't get any more fresher than that. You're rotating. I mean, you've got the novelty of it. You've got the opportunity to meet Chip and Dale, which are two of my favorite Disney characters. Mickey's dressed up as a farmer. I mean, that's just amazing from someone from Devon. And of course, when you're rotating, you get to have a little peek in the top floor of that iconic house from Living on the Land. So that's definitely, if I were to pick a table, I want to sit on one that rotates.
Yep.
The meet and
That's a re-
greets
that's a
there
really
are
good point.
brilliant as well.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
it's such a
it's
small restaurant. When we went, we saw the characters 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
We were like
Yeah.
one of the first sort of, we had a very early reservation that morning, and it was just incredible to get into the park, going there, and the food there's really, really good.
Yeah,
And
it really is.
And the thing is, it's always difficult because we've spoken on a previous sort of live show that prices of breakfasts could be quite pricey and depends on where you go. But actually, I didn't feel it was quite a good value for money for what you get there. I think I'd rather pay there than Cinderella's Royal Table.
Yeah, I'd agree. And unlimited Mickey waffles. What else do you need?
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was brilliant. Great answer. Tell us a resort that you haven't stayed at, but you want to more than anything else on earth.
Ooh, I think visited a few times. I think Polly, and I would even say the Tower. I know that's a bit of a Marmite at the minute, but from what I've seen recently, and I know it's flavour of the week because it's the newest one on property, but it looks beautiful, doesn't it? Like it's not the Marriott that everyone was suggesting online. There are so many different like hidden Easter eggs in the decor, the Moana features, and it looks fab. The open like window terrace that they've got there as well. That looks, I can only imagine what that looks like at night with like fireworks going off and just over the lake. I think it's
two
fab.
terraces, I think, on the front, and there's 2 on the
Yeah.
back. So you'll be able to see
So
monorail
good.
one side, and then the other side you'll be able to focus on the fireworks.
That would be my
Sunrise and
evenings. That's it. Yeah, that would honestly be my evenings and morning with a cup of coffee. I think definitely that'd be fab.
That'd be lovely.
Adam Coomer, a co-host of mine on the DIS load, he's fortunate enough to have got a reservation for. I think he's going in September, so he's going to be staying there, and I can't wait to hear what about. He's a massive Polly fan,
So
and
we've
he's selling it
decided
to me.
because they've got very different room types as well. They've copied the same
Yeah,
concept as what they have in Disneyland Hotel. So you've got the duo studio, sort of smaller rooms which are for a couple, and then you've got the normal studios in the 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom. And we're quite lucky that we've managed to get a duo studio booked for our trip in August.
nice.
So
Can't
it's
wait.
can't wait. It's
I
gonna
love
be
the
good.
Polly anyway, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely in my top 3.
And we've been watching so many vlogs recently of how to get around, and it looks incredible. And I know there's been a lot of flack of it being built the past couple of years. Is it the right thing to put there without another monorail stop? But I think it's going to be it looks really good.
It's like 3-minute walk to the monorail.
Yeah.
But it's probably 3-minute walk in the other direction to the one at the Grand.
See,
yeah, that's right.
got a choice between breakfast now. Where am I going to go? Am I going to go to
Yeah.
the Grand Floridian for breakfast, or am I going to go to Ohana's?
Yeah. And just having a resort where you've got Dole Whip on tap as well. Like, it's just downstairs.
That helps.
Like, that's fab, isn't it?
Yeah, and the new the Wailulu Bar and Grill looks incredible.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
That looks good. So much. I can't
Yeah.
wait to go.
Oh, I'm intrigued to hear what you think.
Okay, so this isn't a different question, but what is your favourite car park?
Favorite car park?
Yeah.
I think my favorite car park would be any car park in Saratoga Springs. Because
Okay.
if anyone has followed me, they will know, or followed Devonshire Diz on Instas. We're Team Saratoga in this house. It's my home resort, and I think if I were to close my eyes and picture myself in a car park, it would be heading over to Saratoga and arriving for my next Saratoga trip. And I think that will always be my favorite car park because I'm home.
I love that.
Yeah. It's nice. They're nice car parks.
And they are. Yes, they are.
And it's quite.
There's plenty of them.
It's quite a large
Plenty of
resort.
them, they're quiet.
It's very easy
Yeah.
to get lost in that resort.
Oh, it
On
is.
our
Yeah.
last trip.
It's a great resort though.
How did you feel about it in your last trip? Before we move on, did you love it? Did you fall in love as much as I
I
did?
loved it. Yeah.
Saratoga.
Good.
So,
It's our home. It's our
So-
third stay.
was it our 3rd stay? Yeah, I think it was our 3rd. Was it our
Second stay.
2nd stay.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's our
Yeah.
home resort as well.
We didn't
so-
stay. We bought
Cool. Wow.
there before staying there
Yeah.
because we saw the room refurbs that was going to happen. We thought we're just going to wait and see what it was like. And since the room refurbs before COVID, we were like, okay, we need to. This is going to be where we're going to stay,
Yeah.
and it's lovely. It was perfect.
It's definitely leveled up due to those
Yeah.
room refurbs. It's fabulous. And just the Murphy bed. I know obviously they're taking over all the resorts these days and they quite rightly should, but they're just space savers. So they're fab for kiddos as well. Like Penny loves sleeping in that in
That's so much
2024.
more comfortable
Oh, they are.
than like a pull-out sofas.
Yes, yeah.
And
I
like
remember a
that
trip
single
as a
sleeper you can
family.
get in like Old Key West, I think.
Yes.
Or Animal Kingdom Lodge, they do like the single sleeper one.
Yeah.
They just don't look very comfortable. So it makes so much more
No.
sense. Because I think we said Boardwalk before and they had like the pull down or the poly that you have to like pull down bed.
Yeah. I remember as a child staying at Saratoga, one of our first trips over there, and we stayed in a one bed. Myself was on the sofa, and it wasn't comfortable. It was not comfortable. So having a Murphy there now is just fab addition. I hope they finally get it over to Old Key West, but it's going to be a little bit tricky with that room.
Yeah. Not an easy room layout to change.
No.
Hopefully they'll manage it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the size of that room when you put a Murphy bed in? It's going to be like a tennis court in there.
Huge. I don't know why that's. The thing is, I don't think they're all the same size, or not all the same size, but they're all because they've got the different versions, like different versions and different layouts of the studios. That's going to be quite compact. But putting a Murphy bed in a one bedroom as well, that's
yeah. I do love a bit of Old
They're
Key
quite
West.
big rooms.
I love it. It's a shame that obviously, they learned from you. They will say their mistakes in Old Key West and having such a large floor plan for rooms. But yeah, I think if you've got, especially like, for instance, my situation at the moment with young kiddos and kiddos that are growing by the second because of how much they eat, so having a big room or a large floor plan like that, if you're staying in, say, like a studio, is just fab. And if you're lucky to stay in a one bed, you really do have a football field worth of a room. So it's, there's certainly have a lot of appreciation for that resort.
So do you prefer Typhoon Lagoon, Blizzard Beach or Volcano Bay?
Ooh, the one that should not be named in Volcano Bay. My heart is with Typhoon Lagoon. Is it the best water park out of the three? For variety, it probably isn't, because Volcano Bay wins out with the amount of different attractions for different ages, the size of it, the food that you get in Volcano Bay, and I believe that the difference in food variety that you can get in Volcano Bay has actually leveled up the Disney water parks as well, because you can see by their recent trips and the menus that they've got, it's not just your chicken tenders and a burger. They've changed it completely to fit the theming of their water parks, and I think they have that as an answer to Volcano Bay. Really, I think they've pushed themselves up. But I love Typhoon Lagoon. I love the theming. I love the family rides. Misadventure Falls is fab. The lazy river, I could spend all day, and we pretty much did in 2024. And just the uniqueness of the wave pool. I have grazed many a knee over the years in that wave pool, but I've enjoyed every time I've lost a bit of skin.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's just like every time you look at it, you go like, I'm not going in that wave pool, at least not now.
No.
But I could spend hours on the lazy river.
Yeah.
Okay, I do prefer the lazy river at Blizzard.
I think it's difficult now with Disney since COVID that it's like you can't really have a favourite between Typhoon or Blizzard because it's whichever one's open when you're there.
Yeah.
It feels
That's
really
true.
weird to not have, especially like during the summertime. But I'm glad this year that Disney are trialing the system that on check-in day and sort of moving resort day that you get a free ticket or free entrance to a water park.
Yeah, absolutely. We were quite lucky in March that we had the overlay. So the first day that we had in March 2024 was the final day that Blizzard Beach was open, and the day after it changed to Typhoon. So instead of hopping to Magic Kingdom to wait for the castle on your first day or whatever, we jumped in Blizzard Beach, and it was nice to see that. I think we worked it out. It was probably about 12 years since we had been to Blizzard because of the time frame. Yeah. And it certainly has its place. It's a fabulously themed resort. I love Summit Plummet. I always had them when I was younger. That was the first ride I would head to. Tykes Peak is really good for the kiddos. It's a really good little area. It's quite contained, and the water's not overly deep, so they can just run around. Even Noah, as a 7-month-old, could easily sit down there and splash around without having to worry too much about him down there. And yes, I agree with you, Beck. The lazy river in Blizzard is actually more elite than Typhoon, mainly because there's more of the sun. as a sun worshipper myself. Although the waterfall is cold when you get to the cave, I'm not gonna lie.
Best bet.
Yeah.
Bit of cold water to cool you off.
Cool you down, yeah. Save you from sunburn.
Momentarily. Yeah.
Here we go. Here's another question that just dips into the other place as well. So, Galaxy's Edge or Diagon Alley?
Oh, now this, I would suspect if there were myself and Lauren on camera, may split us in half because she is an avid Harry Potter fan and I am a huge Star Wars fan. And the addition of Galaxy's Edge has just taken me as a Star Wars fan into every childhood dream I could ever imagine. The first time we went into Batuu and saw the Falcon just there, it was a gulp in the throat at that point for me, for sure. It was fantastic. I felt every year of my childhood and adulthood in seeing that for the first time, and I had a great moment that in 2024 Noah had a nap, and he had a good nap in a carrier on me when I was going through Galaxy's Edge, so I had a decent amount of time just to waddle along, keep moving, keep the baby asleep, but also take in every corner of Galaxy's Edge. And it was just, the detail in that place is fabulous. And don't get me wrong, Diagon Alley and what Universal have done with the Harry Potter franchise is absolutely fantastic. The amount of variety you can see there, the nods to the films, the rides and attractions that are connected to Diagon Alley as well. The shows that are there, they have really stepped up when they brought Harry Potter to Universal. I miss Jaws, unfortunately. I'm again OG. I miss Jaws. They could have put it somewhere else, please, and kept Jaws. But it's a staple of a Universal trip for us. It's something which probably won't be in our immediate future, given the age of our kids. But I'm really excited to take Penny, especially, who's just skirting on the Harry Potter franchise. I can't wait for that sort of fandom to build with her and head back to Diagon Alley. Yeah, I think it's a fab addition.
Brilliant. That's a really good answer, that, because actually I think we've said on a few podcasts, I don't think Galaxy's Edge could ever have happened had it not been for the detailing that went into Diagon Alley and the challenge that Universal put out there when they actually put that into the parks, and I think that's where, again, even looking to this year, as where Universal are really raising the bar once again. Yeah. You really think, well, actually, Disney have got to come back and they've really got to up their game once again with their Imagineering to make sure that they don't lose market. To Universal, it's great. We're the only people who can actually sit back and just enjoy that whole thing, because it just makes it better for us, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've seen a few videos recently of like the Universal adverts for Epic Universe start appearing, and it's like, okay, I keep seeing like Super Nintendo World, Harry Potter. I'm just getting really excited. I can't wait. Yeah, and all I can think of is how Disney are going to respond to this.
Yes,
we had D23 last year, but I just feel like that we're going to just have an incredible sort of decade ahead when you've got Universal going, well, this is what we've done. Disney are going to fight back, and then we're just going to just have more rides, more attractions, more lands, more hotels, and just another reason to book that other trip back to Orlando.
Yeah, 100%, definitely.
Means I'll have to have a meeting with the bank manager.
You will.
That's the only problem. That's the only downside, right? That is the only downside, but we'll all find a way because we're all addicted to it.
That is true. So you were early morning or a late night park visit?
I think this day and age, it's very difficult with kids. It's very difficult because Disney tired's a real thing. So getting them up at the crack of dawn to rope drop is difficult. Staying till a 10 o'clock fireworks show is difficult. and doing both, not happening. Obviously you can mitigate it with, dipping out in the afternoon and having that nap or doing some resort hopping on a chill day to be able to take you through. And that's essentially what we did with our kiddos when it was a day which we knew there was Fantasmic to watch or Happily Ever After to go and see. We made sure we had a fairly late start so we could tackle the evening and had a nap in between. I think if I were to pick one, I like a nighttime spectacular. I think that's the way to end Disney days, and I actually think that's what sets them apart with other theme parks, and including their noisy neighbor next door. Although they've got some good nighttime shows coming as well, and Hogwarts Illuminated was a bit of a jaw-dropping moment as well. But no, I think Disney do it better when it comes to nighttime, and I love ending a Disney day with one of the fireworks or the Phantasmic show. Have you guys got a favourite when it comes to nighttime shows?
Can I say wishes still?
I know.
Yes, I'm with you.
We keep going,
No,
we keep
I'm
going
with
back
you.
down this.
Yeah.
So there you go. I don't even have to say it
Say-
anymore.
it's
I get
just-
led into
no.
Spectro Magic without people even thinking about it, but there we
Yeah.
go.
Oh, I love Spectro Magic. Love Spectro Magic and Wishes, yeah.
If we're talking about the current ones, probably Illuminous.
Oh, Luminous.
Luminous.
Ah, nice.
Epcot.
Yeah.
Mm.
I wish I'd seen it more than. Well, I say I wish I'd seen it more than once last year. We only did one
We
day
had one day
at
at
Epcot, so
Epcot.
I couldn't. But
Wow.
I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to seeing it again.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
say
I thought it was great.
Phantasmic.
Yeah.
I've got to say Phantasmic. There's just something about it. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
And especially what they've done to it more recently with the updates, the
Yeah.
Pocahontas, and it's just all the different. And just watching Moana walk out onto the water and Frozen, there's just so many different aspects that I just think just add to the show. The only
Yeah.
downside is the uncomfortable benching.
Yeah.
But I do like being there for half an hour before because of the pre-show, because you have the Mexican wave
Hmm.
and the
Yeah.
soundtrack for that first 30 minutes while you're waiting is incredible.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's our pick. It's our pick in this house. Phantasmic every time. And if Wishes was still there, it would be a more difficult conversation. But I do like Happily Ever After, but I'm with you, Becca. It's all about Wishes. Always has been.
I like
Yeah.
Happily Ever After. What I don't like is the crowds.
Oh, it's
See, that's
busy,
why-
right? It is.
It can
Yeah.
be, yeah. And I think we've had better experience watching Happily Ever After without the projections while riding
Yeah.
Big Thunder Mountain. That was
Yeah.
an incredible experience. Just sort of going up the lift hill and you just look to the right and you just see all the fireworks. That was amazing. But now because they've got the projections down Main Street, so
Yeah.
it's just finding a space slightly further back towards the train station, and you think that actually this is better than being up
Yeah.
front at the castle.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how projections have changed people's mindsets for nighttime spectacle, especially in Magic Kingdom when you do have the
Yeah.
projections on Main Street. You just think of all those years that we were queuing up at like an hour and a half just to be like the second row right outside the castle and your neck out
Yeah.
afterwards because you were so close trying to get the fireworks over the castle. And now like so many people are stepping back. And as soon as we had Penny, we went on our first trip in 22 with kids and Penny she was just shy of 3. We purposely stood back because obviously the loudness of fireworks and music and so on and so forth. And watching it from down Main Street and having Main Street illuminated, and obviously now with projections, it's just a completely different way of watching it. And we prefer it. We certainly prefer it now.
Yeah, I was interested last week. There was last week of January, there was actually a cast member only evening in Magic Kingdom where they actually opened the nighttime fireworks with the Wishes music and then went into Happily Ever After. Now I'm hoping beyond all hope that maybe that's maybe a sign of maybe what is to come later
I've
this summer.
I've
Who
said
would
this
know?
since D23. What was it? I can't remember the name, but the name of the new nighttime parade, Starlight, as the
Yes.
opening. It's the sound of Wishes.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that soundtrack is going to be used in one way or another within that parade, and I really hope so.
That'd be fab. That'd be a nice callback. I would
It would,
appreciate
wouldn't
that.
it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait for that. A nighttime parade back in Magic Kingdom. Yes, please.
Whoa, yes,
So
definitely.
excited for it.
Yeah. We had to look back because we're going in August, thinking, okay, it's going to be out this summer, but what time of the night will there be a nighttime parade? So we looked back to like 10 years ago to think of when the Main Street Electrical Parade, and during the summer it was running twice.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, I wonder whether they'll do that this year or whether it would just be one night, one time a night.
Hopefully. It makes sense, right? With kiddos and
It depends how many people are booked to go to Universal. I think that,
Well,
I think that
constantly
might be
dragging people
the thing.
what time's Universal on? Okay, let's do it 2 hours later, just so we can get everyone through the door.
And we can charge them for parking on the way back down the I-4 as well. Oh dear. Right, go. I digress. Go on, Becca.
Would you rather keep the magic or have backstage detail?
I like seeing the nuts and bolts. I like understanding how animatronics work. The Imagineering story that was on Disney Plus is just something which I've had on rotation, as well as behind the attractions. It's just all that sort of things. It gets me even more hooked about it. I'm a massive history buff when it comes to Disney as well, so I always like hearing about how this whole obsession has evolved across the pond. So definitely behind the scenes for sure. I would love to do one of those tours. I don't know if any of you guys have done those behind the scenes tours or Keys to the Magic. I'd love to do that.
Oh, amazing.
Keys to the Kingdom is incredible. We did it last 2023.
Yes.
And
we were about to say last year.
Yeah, I was going to say last year, but no, 2023. And it's incredible. It's the amount, I think it's one of the best value tours, because I think we spent $114, I think it is, per person. And when you think that's for 5 hours.
And lunch.
Yeah.
And you get lunch included.
Yeah. It is.
And
oh, wow.
It's all,
yeah.
It's actually, it depends on who's doing it. As to how much knowledge they've got as well. And if you get someone who's really massive on Disney history, it's the most absorbing experience. Even if they haven't got the history and they're just explaining what you're looking at, it's good enough. But if you've got someone who's really on the ball, you can have some amazing. I've done it a couple of times, and like last year was the first time that we'd been when both of my kids were of an age where they were allowed to do it.
Yeah,
and so. That was basically one of the moments where all those years where I basically said, I did Keys to the Kingdom tour, but you didn't go with me. You stayed with your mum. I was like, it was that moment where we had the chance, and I know this is probably way down the line for you, but to go as a family and actually to just go and experience it was something quite special. It really was. It was. It was one of them moments where you, as a family, you come away at the end and you blend into Magic Kingdom again, but you have a totally different viewpoint. And what we did is we went and walked the whole tour as well, what we were allowed to do, just as normal day guests, just so we could actually try and remember so much that had been just thrown at us, and and it's impossible to remember it all. But it was just absolutely scintillating. It really was a beautiful way of spending basically a day in Magic Kingdom. Absolutely brilliant.
And like you said, you've got that extra sort of appreciation of what's right in front of your eyes now, because the time, effort, and the detail that's gone into making something, which I bet the majority of people may even just stroll past as they move on to the next attraction. But like in that little nook, there's that item there for a reason, and it makes place such an important part. That's a little bit of me. I've got to do it at some point.
I think as well, even so much as the windows on Main Street, and just the information's out there, and I always try and push people back across this. It's free. If you go and do your homework, and actually you could print it out and take it with you, it's all online, but it explains exactly what each of the windows is talking about, and what the meaning behind which Imagineer or which person involved in the history of the park is on which window, etc. It's beautiful. And for someone who's massively into history and becomes really sort of just so absorbed by it, it's a great way of just sort of you'll never walk up Main Street in a hurry ever again.
Yeah. It's definitely on the bucket list for sure.
Yeah.
There's so many other backstage tours as well. I think we've done we've done the Wild Africa trek, and being able to go and cross that bridge, and just you enjoyed it.
I did not enjoy.
You enjoyed it once
the bridge.
You enjoyed it once we were across the bridge. but yeah, no, it was a once in a lifetime experience. It's something. It's a must do.
Yeah, I'm definitely not walking down that bridge again.
It was a one and done.
I would happily do it again. But
I might need some convincing.
Yeah. But no, it was incredible just to see, and especially when you've watched the TV show on Disney Plus, where Animal Kingdom 1.
It's
just all the stuff they do for taking care of the animals, because I know you can do things like caring for giants as well. There's so many different ones that if you've been going to Disney for a while and you want to do something different, book one of these tours. It will really just change your outlook on the park and just give you something different to do.
Yeah.
And the price points aren't like extortionate, are they? Considering what you're getting out of it.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
With our was it just under $200 each for the Wild Africa trek, but it was 3 hours, included a 3-course meal.
3-course meal.
Okay.
Technically it was a 3-course meal. Dedicated tour guides, photographer.
Yep.
Oh, amazing.
And when you think for sort of 3 hours of your day, it's not terrible.
Yeah, they're really knowledgeable as well. Private safari.
Yeah. No, brilliant.
I mean, that like...
there you go. I'm going to move us on quickly because I'm desperate. I want to get on to talk about your trip.
Yes.
So,
I told you I can talk.
No, I know. That's all right.
Fits perfectly.
That's fine. That's why we do what we do every month. So anyway, tell us, what's your favourite other podcast or vlogger about Disney?
Oh, there's so many out there, and we've taken inspiration in Devonshire Diz, in Dizload, Brit's Guide to DVC, the ones that I'm associated with. We've taken so much inspiration from so many different podcasts and news outlets. The Diz was one that's just huge for me over across the pond, because that kept me up to date with everything I needed to know pre-post trips, and they always seem to be one of the first to be great for news outlets. If I'm thinking over here, not just saying it because I'm on your podcast, but I'm a routine listener to your podcast, of course.
Checks in the post.
And vlogs as well. I think Adam Hatton is over here just someone who is so knowledgeable given his experience being over there, and obviously just the amount of detail and information that he puts into his vlogs. And honestly, he's just fantastic at what he does at capturing a Disney trip. I think of how many trips he must go on in a year, and like, you think to yourself, like, even he must look at it sometimes and think, do I need to show the entrance to that ride again? Do I need to show that shot again? But every time it seems like you're stepping back into what could be your first trip. I think he's fantastic at what he does. And a shout out to Gary as well, because Gary's fabulous. The way their personalities, both of them together, they make it so entertaining as well as informative. And Adam Hatton is one of the reasons why another thing to the long list of bucket list items that we have is now going to Tokyo, because the recent Tokyo trip he did was just fabulous.
Yeah,
fabulous. It was the joy on his face when he was just staying at the most incredible hotel, Fantasy Springs. I'm like, I need to go to Tokyo at some point. It's definitely on the list.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah. And that view, just the view he had from his room, and let's face it, the room he had was incredible, but the view was fantastic. Yeah.
And it's all those little booking tips of, because Tokyo is such a different beast to like booking Walt Disney World or to Disneyland, as we found. It's just such a different way of booking, because obviously we're so used to booking a 2-week trip to Orlando. It's a little bit different to get your head around of only booking a few nights and how many limits and like different park tickets and packages there are. So it's been quite useful to find out all of that out.
Do you compare that sort of planning to, say, like a Disneyland Paris trip? Does it compare to like a Disneyland trip?
For Disneyland Paris, it's different, I think. I think just because we've never really planned.
Planned Disneyland Paris.
We just it's one of those ones.
Go when we fancy. Not that we fancy it very often.
I think it's one of
the wrong word.
I think it's one of those things, because I feel like we're so close to Disneyland Paris, where literally for us it's within 4-hour drive we'd be there.
It's true.
It's very different to Walt Disney World, where I know I'm planning a 2-week trip. I think part of me thinks that with Tokyo, we're going all of that way. I want to do more stuff in Japan. While I'm going all of that way. So I think that then complicates the trip a little bit, where we're going to Disneyland in May, but we're literally only going to do Disneyland. We're going for 5 nights. So we're literally flying into Los Angeles, going to Anaheim, 5 nights later coming home. So I'm not sure whether I would do the same because of the cost of the flights it is to Japan, whether I would do that in the same way. And I think we'd probably regret going all of that way and not fitting in some of the local culture side of Japan that I'd probably want to experience.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, one day we'll be heading east.
I want to win that. There was one, if you win a lottery, it's definitely a lottery win but there was a private tour. There was £106,000. It's over $110,000. Well, it was done by Adventures by Disney, but it was every Disney park in the world.
Yeah.
It was like that would be what I would buy if I won the lottery.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think you'll get this next question, but I think I know your answer to this one. Are you staying on site or off site?
Yes, definitely on site. Yes, yeah. I had like so many the original sort of trips we did were off site, international drive and so on and so forth. But since we were bitten back in mid-90s of going on site, we will always be on site. And obviously now we're DVC members. It's my 20th year associated with DVC this year. So we've been over 20 years that we've been on site, and I love the bubble. I love the bubble too much.
Yep.
With you there. Right. Controversial one. Festival of the Lion King or Finding Nemo the musical?
Oh, they're both great. They are both great. And I don't think, especially Nemo, gets the appreciation it deserves. I really don't. I've walked into that theatre a number of times just before it was starting and thought to myself, I cannot believe I've been so lucky to get in and see such a fantastic show. The puppetry, the music, just it's such a fab show. I think anyone who's listening to this and hasn't necessarily been to Animal Kingdom or has just never been to Nemo, make time to go and do it, because I don't want it to fall under the Chester and Hester's axe, because it's great and the performers are fantastic there. I am a huge Lion King fan, and the Festival of the Lion King is something that is close to the top of my list if I ever go on a Walt Disney World trip. So unfortunately for Nemo, the Lions win it because it is fantastic in its own right, and I'm so glad they've brought it back to what's close to its original form post-COVID now, with having those additional performers on the floor and the tumble monkeys make it. I love it. Absolutely love it.
It did feel slightly off watching it when it was the adjusted version where it was like the celebration of the Lion King.
Yes.
It was just, we were close to it, but it wasn't right. It didn't feel right, but now it does. Now it's just back to the way we wanted it to be.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially with
I love
the
it.
participation at the end is...
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just little things like that really enhance those sort of shows, and it's just fantastic. And the fact is, an IP it's been a love of mine for the best part of 30 years, just tops it off. I think it's great.
Yeah. Right, here we go. Last question. What's your favourite time of year to visit Disney?
Ooh, I've had a bit of a variety over the years of when I've been able to head across the pond. I think if I were to put a placement, I kind of like the October-November time. I think if you can get the overlap between October and November, and you can get the overlap of Halloween and Christmas, it's magical. Unfortunately, it's also expensive nowadays, but it's a great time to go over there, and just to be able to see how quickly they turn that round is incredible. And actually, just the weather's fab at that time as well. Like, you do get the odd heat wave over there where it does get incredibly warm, but for the most part, you're looking at, say, like a mid-20s in the day, which is calm, which is nice. Certainly from a family perspective, it's a nice time to go. We really enjoyed going in February, actually. If I were to pick like a runner-up, it's a little bit colder at night. You're probably going to need trousers, maybe a jumper. Take your Spirit jersey, since there's a million of them at the minute, for the evenings to watch your evening shows. But the key thing I really like about Feb is, and it's on now, is Festival of the Arts. Hands down, my favourite EPCOT festival. Hands down, the creativity on show on Festival of the Arts is just fabulous. I wish it was longer. And I wish it was at a different time. 6 weeks. It deserves, the 6 months of food and wine.
I would sacrifice a couple of months of food and wine to have. But I don't know whether anyone saw on social media over the past weekend that there was a special guest visiting EPCOT during the festival, but I didn't realise he was an artist as well. Tony Baxter.
Tony Baxter, yeah.
Wow, really?
He was there signing his own artwork.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah, friend of the show, Megan, and I'll see if I can dig out the picture later and share it in a Waffler's Arms. But yeah, she was very lucky to meet Tony Baxter over the weekend.
That was amazing.
Oh, nice. It's fabulous. There's so much for everyone to do in that festival. And don't get me wrong, there's a place for food and wine, and Flower and Gardens, what we went to last year in March, and that was brilliant as well. The colour of Flower and Garden is fabulous. But I just think back to 22 when we went with Penny, being that sort of 2-3-year-old, and pretty much every station of that festival she had some form of interaction with. Like she was chalk painting on the floor just outside the Seas with Nemo. She was painting on the walls of the mural that gets put up each day. She was playing with some of the acrobatic stuff down on the waterway when you go into World Showcase in between shows, because they allowed her to go and, you know, play with one of the juggling things. Just little things like that about Festival of the Arts. And of course, just the fabulous Disney art on show. It's just a shame, you know, there's only a 23 kilo allowance, really, isn't there, for us? I do like a bit of Disney art.
Every time you ask people, will that go in the suitcase? Will that fit? What do I not need to take home? Can I just leave these clothes here and I'll take the artwork home?
I mean, thankfully, the artwork that we've got has all been quite small, so it's rolled up in a tube and can fit in.
Yeah, that's true. We bought a few of the postcard sizes of Festival of the Arts.
We did.
I appreciate the artists doing that, like not just having the originals at, you know, fabulous amounts of money. I mean, it's unjustified given the creativity. I'm glad they do prints and postcard prints and so on and so forth for the likes of us who obviously do have luggage allowances, that we can take a little piece of that magic home, because it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you know something? We've come to the end of the questions, and actually we're at a part of the show which I think that this next question rolls us onto a load of things that you've kind of touched into throughout that carousel of questions as well. So I think seamlessly, you know, this is where these shows are really well planned. You know, tell us a little bit about your actual Disney journey, because you've already said you've done DVC for a whole number of years.
Yeah,
come on, tell us, where did it all begin?
It all began as a mid-80s born child who loved the Disney cartoon back in the day. But the parks started for me in 91. It was the 20th anniversary, actually, of Walt Disney World. That was the first time it grabbed us. Headed over as a family of 4. I was 6, 7 at the time. And it was, I don't have too many memories being that age. I just remember enjoying it. One of my earliest memories was seeing Chip and Dale dressed up in Chinese attire in the World Showcase, and just thinking, that's my Rescue Rangers, but they're dressed up slightly different. What is this? And then all of a sudden going to a different country and seeing a different character dressed up, and I just loved it. I loved being able to interact with characters in their different costumes back then, when you could just walk around the showcase and they weren't bombarded with people. So that was like my early years, and I remember the different shows that used to be in Fantasyland and Toontown back in the day when we were in the 90s, and meeting Mickey Mouse in his house and Minnie Mouse next door. And so on and so forth. So the 90s is where it all began. 92 we went for Christmas, just before we flew back on Christmas Eve, but we loved it so much we went again. And then it began pretty much every other year then for myself and my family. Heading over to what ended up being routinely the All-Stars resorts, and then we moved into Pop Century when it was a new one. And Pop Century was when we got bitten by the DVC desk. They extended their arm and said, you look like Disney fans, you want to have a conversation with us. And my family signed on the dotted line with DVC in 2005. Saratoga was a partially built resort at that point. We went back in 2007, and the one trip was enough for me. In 2007 as a 21-year-old to get myself a bank loan and also sign on the dotted line. So I became an owner in my own right alongside my family in 2007. So yeah, and it's just been paying it off and enjoying it ever since.
just every December you get that letter going like, oh, here are your dues, they're going up again.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Courtesy of DVC.
Christmas is cancelled, guys. That's it. So, do you know something that surprised me? Because actually, you know, quite often it's one of them things. Either you go early and it stays with you forever, or you go late and things like that. So when you met Lauren,
yes,
how did you know, was she a Disney fan, or was it one of those cases you had to persuade her that I've got DVC?
Yeah.
you're going to have to enjoy this, or else.
If you're going to stick around, this is what we're doing.
yeah.
No, I was quite lucky with Laura. She was a Disney fan by heart anyway. She hadn't been over to Walt Disney World previous with her family. Her first experience of it was 2013 when we headed over, and we stayed in, I believe that first one was Saratoga, and she fell in love with it. She really did. She fell in love with the magic of Disney, the parks, the rides, the shows especially. She will be the first to admit she is not a thrill seeker. She does not like roller coasters. We've obviously touched on the Skyliner as well. Heights are not a thing. But also she is also someone who will try anything once, and she has been on all of the main roller coasters and tried it once. And as she says for Tower of Terror, it's a one and done. She will not do that again, but she's glad she did it.
What she's missing.
But yeah, no, she's fully invested. Since 2013, she understood why I spent a ridiculous amount of money when I was a child to go and do this, and why it will continue whilst our kids are about as well.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking back to that time period, how much the cost per point would have been versus like buying now.
Yes.
Because I remember we bought in 2016, it was $84 a point.
Yeah.
Where we were on the cruise last year, and they were trying to get us to add on more points, and they were going, "Oh, you can add on more for, was it $145 a point?" I'm good, thank you. No, I'm good.
That's a special offer.
Yeah, it's discounted.
Our original purchase was resale,
That is true.
which is why it was so cheap.
but I think that's very astute of you, actually buying in so early into Saratoga, and actually, I'm leaving aside the intricacies of cost, etc. I think by going early and going when you're younger, you've got yourself something that's actually is as an investment.
Yes,
it's actually already probably proved its worth. It's probably one of my biggest regrets is the fact that certainly the first few times we went, we kicked against our, we'll stay off site, and then you suddenly think, hang on, I'm missing out on something here. Then you go on site and you suddenly realise, oh, hang on, I quite like this.
Yeah.
And then you're suddenly in that boat where you've actually invested so much money in holidays already that you're thinking, what do I do? Do I invest in DVC or do I not? And I think that's where you get caught up in this conundrum. And I think, that sort of, for you at a young age, it probably was a gamble.
Yes,
I think,
absolutely.
I think probably looking back on it, it's probably the best thing you've done, because actually, to have that as an investment is just absolutely superb. Because I look at these two, and I'm thinking, they're off again, but it's all paid for because it's all on DVC, and I think that's the bit that you need to get over.
It's a really bizarre thing just to think about, that in August we're going to be spending 8 nights at Boardwalk and then followed by 8 nights at the Polynesian, where when you look at the price of, like, okay, if I went onto Disney's website and booked that, I would not be staying there. I'll be staying at All Star Music or Pop. Not that there's anything wrong with those resorts. It's just a different way.
Stayed at before.
It's a different way of doing sort of purchasing your trip. Just we know that we don't have to go every year. We've got the flexibility, and it's really weird. I remember when we first went for our first meeting with Disney, we were at Wilderness Lodge, and there was that desk, and what's this Disney Vacation Club? And it was like, then we were whisked off to Bay Lake Tower, and as soon as you saw those rooms, you went, oh, this looks nice. And then it was just like, okay, how much is it? It was like, and I think we did the best thing, was like, we said no, we took all the information away, but then we spent 2 years going through spreadsheets and just going like, how much is this? And realizing that actually we are going to go back to Disney either every year or every other year. And actually, is this better than staying on site? Yes, it's not the cheapest way of going to Disney. It definitely isn't. But for us, it's worked out well.
Over the long term,
it
probably will. I think that we've from what our initial outlay was, we probably covered that in the first 5 trips.
Yeah.
So everything from then onwards is a bonus.
It's not for everyone. And financial situations differ for so many people, and Kev, the host of Brit's Guide to DVC, he's routinely saying it's not a product which is necessarily built for the likes of us across the pond. It's very much an American product. And you can see why, given DVC members and the vlogs you watch at DVC members, they go down for like a long weekend multiple times. And that's probably what it's mainly for. But that doesn't mean it can't work for us. And I look at prices now, and I have friends who are going over to Disney, and they're paying for their 2-week package holiday. And you look at some of the sums that come back for a 2-week trip staying in a value or a moderate these days. And I can't help but think, God, if you just save that little bit more, get yourself on that 150 point. If you're going to go direct, have a look at some of the deals in resale and get yourself a contract for a similar amount of money. You're fixing yourself not only to return to Disney in a more affordable fashion, but you are leveling up the type of accommodation you're staying at, because there's no way I would be able to afford to stay in a resort and spa of Saratoga. There's absolutely no chance I'd be able to stay in a high-end across the water from Magic Kingdom Grand Floridian or Poly or a Contemporary or Bay Lake. There's no way, given how much these cost for a 2-week trip these days. So it's like being able to jump on when we did, when it was a lot cheaper. It's certainly, to me, I've said it on other podcasts, it's the best financial decision I've ever made, and probably ever will, to be honest.
Yeah, I can well believe that as well. I think as well, I'll put a bit of information out there, because Ben shared this with me earlier. In fact, Ben, go on, you share it, because actually, when we talk about DVC, you can talk about points, and you can talk about prizes and all this. I actually don't have a clue. Right, even despite all the podcasts we've done about DVC, I'll still get the calculator out every single time. I still think, I should have done it probably 20 years ago, and I still think at the moment maybe not. But this one that you showed earlier,
it's interesting.
It's just like it's crazy. It's just like bizarre.
It really surprised me, because I know, and every time that we talk about DVC, Disney Vacation Club, that there are different, when you get your points, so you have how many points you have a year, and the difficulty is how do you spend it? Do you stay on site at Walt Disney World, where you're going to get your best value of points, so stay at Saratoga, or like us, treating ourselves and staying at Polynesian, you can do. But what you can do is you can stay at other Disney properties that aren't just in Walt Disney World. So you can spend them in Tokyo. You can spend them in Disneyland Paris. It used to only be for like the Marvel Hotel and Disneyland Hotel, but now they've expanded to all, including all of these sort of value resorts. So I think Davy Crockett, Santa Fe, Cheyenne, Sequoia, Newport Bay. But to really explain the value of it is I've priced up one night at the Disneyland Hotel, and to do that is 146 points for that night. So near enough. Like you said earlier, 150 points is a good amount to have in Walt Disney World for a year.
Yeah, I'm booking my flight to Orlando as you're speaking. That's it.
To put that into context, it is the same points as going in the first week of May for 7 nights at Animal Kingdom Club level.
Club
in the
level.
Studio.
Club level.
Club level.
That is the same cost for 7 nights. So
I'm Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Where people have currently got Disney Vacation Club, don't always do the sums, look at how much it is. But if you have 146 points, you're probably best off renting those points out to another member, someone in your family, friends, someone new, or to a DVC rental site, and using that money to pay cash for that night stay, because it's going to be a lot cheaper for you than spending all of those 146 points. Because we've looked into it for not Disneyland Paris before. I've looked into it now because I thought this would be interesting, because we've got a few points left next year. What could we use those sort of 90 points on? But I'm not staying. It wouldn't even get us a night at Disneyland Hotel, which is a tad disappointing. Because we've looked at it for cruises as well, and it just makes much more sense to rent those points out, because the average is about $16 to $18 that you can rent them out for per point. So use that towards a different trip if you
might get a bit of value, better value if you go to Davy Crockett, but actually,
it's one of those. I think with our 90 points spare, we could probably get a couple of nights at Santa Fe.
I looked at Davy Crockett, and if you're looking second half of 2025, it's 39 to 59 points a night.
Okay.
Now, when we went to 2024 in Saratoga on the weekend, because the weekend's a little bit more of a premium point, it was 14 a night. 14 a night. And it's 39 to stay in Davy Crockett for a night. And of course, if you're going to do that in Disneyland Paris, you also have the additional $95 admin fee, because it's not a DVC resort, it's part of the Disney collection. You've got to pay an admin fee on top of it as well, so you've got to factor that into your budget. Yeah, I don't think DVC Disneyland Paris is
not happening.
No,
it's not happening.
I don't think.
There you go.
Do you know what they need to do? And they really
Build a DVC resort in Paris.
Build a DVC resort in Paris,
and one in Tokyo.
Or what would be a first step actually for Disneyland Paris, if they're listening, would be to allow Disney Vacation Club discount in the parks. Because it's one of the parks that outside the
this
US
might be
don't
it.
acknowledge it.
Yeah. This might be it for Disneyland
stone.
Paris. Yeah, this might well be it. I mentioned this earlier to a friend of mine and said, like, I wonder if this is the first step of them acknowledging it in the merch
gauging
and in dining,
seeing what is happening.
They've mentioned in some of the project mapping for Disneyland Paris that there's a new hotel that's going to be on the lakeside coming before 2036. So whether or not there's a DVC arm to that, potentially.
Bound to be, isn't there?
They keep building Walt Disney World DVC resorts in Walt Disney World.
Yes,
all of the ones that have been built are DVC resorts.
Yeah.
So
expand that to Paris and Tokyo and Shanghai and Hong Kong.
Well, that was Eisner's plan. That was the idea back in the day when the Disney decade set off. He was like, I want to see DVC resorts across the world, and not necessarily in obviously in Disney resorts. We've got Vero Beach, we've got Hilton Head. There was plans for the West Coast to have similar. That was the plan. I know Adventures by Disney is a thing and has its following as well, which is fantastic to have that option added into DVC membership as well. But yeah, I think Disneyland Paris needs like a standalone DVC resort, and I think every resort, like you said, should have at least one.
I wonder whether it could be complicated in different sort of countries due to like timeshare selling, because of the way the product is. It might be a particular thing that might be more difficult for them to different laws that may restrict what they can do.
Yeah.
That'd be
interesting to see what Disney do with that space.
Just don't take Saratoga away from me. Just keep that where it is, please.
Yeah,
exactly.
If they could just not raise the dues every year, it would be a bonus. But
that would be appreciated. Or
just change the time of year they send the bill out, because it's Merry Christmas. Here's the bill.
Oh dear. Right, I'm going to move us on, because actually I'm desperate about your trip last year when yourself, Lauren, Penny, and Noah, actually as a family of four, you went for the first time. You said before you went in, was it February 2022 with Penny previously, which is actually on, I think you've chronicled that on your podcast really nicely.
Yes.
I think that was one of the nice things of actually doing my research for the show, is actually going back and listening to some of that, but then to actually then hear about your trip last year. And if anyone hasn't done so, please go and listen to Adam's podcast, the most recent one. There is so much amazing detail, especially about going with a 7-month-old baby, which, like I said at the very outset of the show, I just think you need an award just for your bravery between you and Lauren, to actually, even just to be on the flight for that length of time, never mind away from home. But you covered so much in detail in that podcast about everything, about where you can go in parks to actually feed them in private, etc. Really brilliant. But I must admit, one of my favourite moments was when you were describing when Lauren and Penny were on Seven Dwarfs, and the very fact that you had no idea when they were actually on the ride, but you could hear them before you actually saw them. I just think that was just the most beautiful moment. But how did that all come about? Because actually, I say you're being brave. What was the conversation that you guys had before you decided? Because even probably when you went in 2022, going with a 3-year-old, was it? In fact, I don't even think Penny would have been Penny 3 or 2, not sure. My maths is
just shy of 3. Yeah, shy.
And so even that for some people is considered being really brave, going with a young child. And I think I'm going to push across to you. You tell us about it, because actually I'm really intrigued, because I think a lot of people would maybe listen to us and have that real sort of doubt that they can actually get back to the magic once they've had a young family. But you guys have actually proved that it's possible.
It's children are never the same. So and we mentioned it on the podcast when we did a breakdown. We were lucky. It could have been completely different. It could have been tantrums and tears for 9 hours on a flight, which no one wants. We did a bit of research into what's best to entertain children on flights, sleep schedules, jet lag, and so on and so forth. We delivered, but ultimately it's a gamble. It is a gamble, and you're at the mercy of how your children take to it. And we were very lucky. One of the key reasons, honestly, why we did it at first in 2022 with Penny under 3, and obviously again with Noah being so young. Park tickets are not a thing for children under 3. So exactly. From a financial perspective,
I like your thinking on that. That's it. Yeah.
It makes all the sense in the world to take a child under 3 if you're going to save yourself, 100 to 200 quid on a park ticket for sure. But no, that's only one factor. I think a 7-month window for Noah as a baby is a good time. We touch upon it on the podcast where he was at a age where he obviously understood his surroundings. Sensory for a 7-month-old is something which is lights and sounds and music, and what better than a Disney park to be able to do that. And the key thing for a 7-month-old is when you put a 7-month down, for the most part, they're going to be where they are when you put them down. Because now we have a 14-month-old Noah, and I can only imagine how difficult a 14-month-year-old Walt Disney World trip with a Noah who likes to climb, to run. You turn around, all of a sudden he's gone. It'll be a completely different experience. But honestly, the only thing the key things I can summarize for taking children of a 7-month-old to Penny's age as a 2-year-old and then a 4-year-old is manage your expectations. You will not go on every ride you want to go on. We haven't been on Cosmic Rewind because we just haven't had the chance to do it. Flight Passage, it took me 4 or 5 attempts to get on Flight Passage because of the 2 recent trips with kids. Luckily did it this time and absolutely love it. But know your child's limits, know when their sleep patterns are, know that you're going to a place where the weather will be a key factor. They will get tired quicker, as well as you will as adults, as Brits going to America. We get tired in this heat, let alone with children as well. So just manage those expectations. Plans won't always go to schedule. It's always good to have a plan on a Walt Disney World trip. And my wife is a meticulous spreadsheet planner when it comes to Disney trips. But even she will quite rightly agree that it is a guideline. It is not rules, to quote Pirates of the Caribbean. It is certainly something that to keep an eye on so you can get as much for your Walt Disney World trip. But it's not the be-all and end-all if you didn't make it on that ride or you couldn't get them to stay up to that show. Just enjoy the moments where you can and find a quiet place to nap, because that's key.
I think that's such wise advice. I actually, it really took me back listening to your podcast, because actually with the first time we certainly took our kids, our Joe was, I think, was 18 months or something like that. But you certainly get a real good value out of the people mover. Purely from the fact when Big Brother is away doing Space Mountain and you've got a toddler that you're basically thinking, what on earth are we doing and how are we going to fill the time, and not sitting in full sun, etc. And even to this day, our Joe, he knows when we go on the people mover, he remembers that was the time where we just sort of, we went and did something different. And it's just like, it's wonderful, because actually, and you've got all this lying ahead. And this is what is so lovely of the fact that as a family, as you grow through many, many different Disney trips, they evolve, and each one is never the same, because the next time you go, you'll probably find, the fact that you get sort of Penny's birthday will be, again, you go at the same time. She'll want to do the same thing again, and then the same thing again, and it becomes a tradition, and it suddenly evolves into something else. It's wonderful, because actually that's probably how it was as you were a kid, going with your parents, and how your trips evolved as you got older. It's that whole cyclical thing. I was going to ask you, like, what made you want to start a podcast? But actually, I think if you piece the whole jigsaw together, the knowledge that you've actually absorbed over so much of a period of time, becomes something that you want to share with other people. So what did make you want to start a podcast? There you go. I'll put it to you there as well.
Mainly, it's I just like to talk about it. I really do. Like as you know, and we are now. The little timer at the top says an hour and 15, and I could go on for 2, 3, 4 times talking about the thing that we love. And I know you guys are exactly the same.
We've done this for nearly 6 years now. That's it. We still can't. We still chat about it, and that's exactly what it is. It's that passion, isn't it? It's just that passion of a place that we all love. That you don't want. I think Claire, who's one of our presenters, often sends out this little, when somebody says, I'm going on a Disney holiday again, and the whole workplace sort of rolls their eyes, and, oh, why do you want to go there? But actually, if you know, and actually, once you've been, and once it's actually grabbed you, irrespective of what age you are, because both my lads are just desperate to go again, and it's just like, it doesn't, you don't feel like that ever. You don't get that same feeling for the other 50 weeks of the year. And suddenly you're just sort of transported into somewhere completely magical.
You don't have that feeling in January, do you, John? You want to be transported somewhere in January.
I think that's exactly right, Ben.
Maybe we should just go to Disney World in January.
Just for the whole month in January, one year and break it up a bit.
That would be good.
Save up enough points and have a whole month of January in Disney World.
I'll stay for
Fest of the Arts.
I'll stay for February as well, just because I could.
Yeah.
So, and if I win the lottery, I'm definitely going to do for about 3 months. What's the maximum you can stay on a nester? 90 days?
90 days.
Let's do that. That would be a challenge, wouldn't it? That'd be quite a nice one.
The thing is, you could fill up that time with, the parks, outside the parks, the resorts, just Florida in general as well. There's so much to see and do around Walt Disney World, let alone inside the bubble as well. It's just, I could easily spend 9 days. Easily. I wouldn't have a penny to my name. But if that lottery win did come around, then that'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Be great. You could just literally spend 9 days doing everything. Just everything you've thought about, every tour, you could try all the foods. You could just, I don't know, there'd be so many different things. John, you could stay in every different room at the yacht club.
It's not even that though, Ben. I actually think, and this is one of the things that we've had the conversation about this year for us as a couple. We've turned around and said, we actually don't need the parks. It's actually just being in that greater Orlando area and actually being able to go to the beach, drive a day across the Clearwater, maybe explore, maybe go see how things are on that sort of side of the coast, going up to St. Augustine and traveling and just darting around and exploring. For me, that would take up that whole 90 days, because irrespective of how many years we've been going for such a long time, I still don't feel as if I've seen it all. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It's I might even have to go to SeaWorld.
I was saying, we've not been since 2013. I feel like we need to go back.
I don't feel like I need to go back to SeaWorld.
The only reason I do is for roller coasters, because now, back in 2013, I was afraid of roller coasters, but now I'm like,
an adrenaline jump.
Now I'll happily go on velocicoaster.
They've got a few. They've got a few there, that's for sure.
I remember now.
Go on your own.
Yeah, I was banned from mentioning that particular park, wasn't I? I've not mentioned it for a few years, because I then jump off on a rant about animal welfare and things like that. So I'll stay stum on that. I'll push it back to you, Adam. There you go. I'll push it back to you. So you start the podcast. So that's been up and running. You've also got a YouTube channel, which actually, if people do want to go and have a look, I've got to say, was it that one that you've actually put the reaction of Barnstormer of Pennies as well onto?
Yeah.
Or was that?
Yeah.
I was just like, just quality and engaging content, and again, just we're in this when you're in this day and age. Even videoing my kids when they were that young was now an impossible. Never mind trying to find somewhere to store the video.
Yeah.
So I just think we're in a time where it's just purely possible for kids to have all this for the rest of their lives. So
this is it. And as far as the content from my perspective, the Disney community, this whole ecosystem, which I had absolutely no idea about until the pandemic came along, has just been such a refreshing place to find like-minded people like yourselves who enjoy spending copious amounts of hours a day talking about different Disney things and researching different Disney things or the newest things that are coming out. I've met some fantastic people. I've spoken to fantastic people over different mediums. Instagram has been the one that I've mainly used, and you've been able to find some great accounts on there with other people. I spoke to someone on the weekend. I don't know if it was the name maybe that came up with the Devonshire DIS, but he dropped me a message, and he's a cast member working in EPCOT. Will is his name, if you're listening, Will, from Ilfracombe, North Devon. He's just out there doing his thing till October, and it's just like you would never have ever crossed paths with these people. Adam Kuma, AC from the DIS Load, a co-host of the DIS Load, he lives 10 minutes down the road from me in a place. We've never seen each other before, never met each other before. I worked with a lady called Chelsea. I know she listens, so Chelsea, hi. Mutual friend, just like, my friend really likes Disney, and he mentioned something about a Disney timeshare. All of a sudden, boom, we're now doing a new Disney News UK podcast together on the DIS Load with Luke and Kev. Kev was the first person that I ever heard of a podcast, and let alone being asked to contribute with Brit's Guide to DVC. And it was just a Facebook message, just like, I see you're a DVC member, but I've got a DVC podcast. Would you like to, do something with that? Have a little chat about your story? And all of a sudden, the podcasting world opened up. And now, obviously, with what I mentioned, is one of the most positive things to come out of the pandemic for office workers is the fact that you can work remotely from home. And I'm not saying I spend all my days slacking off watching Disney vlogs and listening to Disney podcasts, because I do work hard. However, now we have the opportunity to listen to Disney content, such as podcasts and such as Disney vlogs, in our background while we're working from home in between meetings and important stuff. So we're now accessible to all of this. And as far as YouTube's concerned, from my perspective, I've got Adam on my name. I am no Adam Hatton. The reason why we're doing it, as you mentioned, is purely so we've got somewhere to store all of these memories that we've captured on a smartphone, which seemingly would just stay on a smartphone. And for my penny, and when Noah's older, to just sit down, hit YouTube, and they can, reminisce of the childhood sort of holidays they had, because essentially that's what my parents were doing to me back in the 90s, just with this excessively big camera and these huge VCRs that you had to keep taking out and then putting in and then taking out.
You had like a few minutes
Or
to
the
record,
VHS.
and then it was just,
and then the battery overheated, and that was the end of that. But it was the same. But now it's just a lot more accessible. It's in your hand now, and seemingly getting even more smaller with what I can see from vlogging cameras these days.
Yes.
I just love it. I love engaging with people who have that same sort of passion. And not just that, I also really love speaking to people who are just starting that journey with Disney, who really are just like, I really want to enjoy what you enjoy for the first time. And what do I do? What's the planning? And as soon as someone, as I'm sure the same with you guys, as soon as someone says, can you help me?
Yeah.
You're like, right. Sit down.
What do I
We're not moving for 24 hours.
What would you like?
And I think that's always difficult because we've all been in that position. We've all booked that first trip and we all go like, okay, what are we doing? Oh, we're going to Florida because that's where we want to go, but we don't know anything about it.
We had no idea when we booked our first trip.
No,
we went to a travel agent, booked what they told us to book, and went.
And the original plan wasn't Florida. We were planning on doing was it New York and Niagara Falls and a bit of Florida. But at the time they couldn't book
Wasn't
a
something they could
multi-city.
do.
So they said, how about just go to Florida instead? So we went, okay. And we did. And
Why not?
never looked back.
We'll get to New York and Niagara
Imagine
Falls.
how much
That is
money
true.
it would have saved you in the meantime. You know, I was just
That's
thinking
true.
myself,
I know.
my first trip was a golf one. And it's like, from that moment, it was just like, no, it's not happening. We're not golfing.
Yeah.
We're going to parks, and the rest, as they say, is history. And
Are you a keen golfer? Have you been on the Lake Buena Vista course at Saratoga?
Yeah, no, I've played quite a bit out there.
Nice.
Sort of, yeah. No, yeah, I won't take it off range because I get into trouble for talking about golf. But yeah, play.
This will be our first 4-hour show.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
everything.
I just, I think, the first few times we went out, and actually it was generally we went winter time, so it was much easier. When we started going in the summer, I thought, well, I can't get a couple of rounds and things like that. You suddenly realise you're going in the summer. When you're over a putt and your sunglasses are just filling up with sweat, and you just think, this is just, I'm not meant to be here. It's just like, it's just not good for you. So with them, and even when the kids were younger, we used to do Oak Trail with them. That was just brilliant. Loved that. And it was just like, and some, they're now better golfers than I am, unfortunately. So I generally we don't play golf because otherwise they beat me, and I don't like getting beat. So as I think Claire and I we did a show about competitive rides at Disney, and it's like you can't become aware of how competitive some people can actually be until you actually meet them in real life. Yeah, it's just one of those amazing things.
Yeah, it's true.
So tell us, Adam, where can people find you if they want to, if they've listened to this, they want to find out a little bit more about that 2024 trip, particularly if they're taking young children as well. And I've done well not to try and chat about it because I loved the show.
I appreciate
where you talked about it, and actually I didn't want to give too many spoilers to avoid people going and finding where you are. So I've got a list of questions. I'll wait till after the show, and then people can maybe get in touch with you if they've got the similar questions. But yeah, where can people find you online? Where can they find your shows?
Happy to answer any sort of question regarding any sort of trip, and especially with kiddos, because it is a niche topic. It's difficult to research as well. We found when we were going, so it was one of the driving forces why Loz and I really did want to sit down. We do appreciate it took us many months, and that was mainly due to sleep schedules when you're at home with a baby, of being able to get both of us to sit on a sofa and chat about it. But we finally did. So you can find that episode and myself rambling on about Disney for a lot longer in Devonshire Diz. We're Devonshire Diz on Instagram, Devonshire_Diz. We're Devonshire_Diz on YouTube. Myself and Loz have started TikTok. I have no idea what I'm doing on TikTok. No idea. But we have an account. So you may see a video or something happen over in TikTok. I am a co-host of another podcast called The Diz Load, which is a UK news podcast. We upload an episode every month, just covering the best sort of topics from that month, really. And then I also contribute to Brit's Guide to DVC, which is hosted by my good friend Kevin, who created this monster, as he says, and I agree with him. And that's touching on any aspect of DVC, mainly UK DVC, talking about resale, those who go direct, and obviously some trip reports from like-minded DVC members who head across the pond to enjoy Disney timeshare, as they call it. So yeah, they're the main places. Instagram, if you do want to catch me for a question or anything like that, the thing that I'm glued to mainly is Devonshire Diz on Instagram.
Could you say a massive thank you for joining us? It's just been, I think we could have made it the show that went on for 4 hours. We really could. I think there's definitely that sort of collective waffle sort of ability. So,
100%.
I don't think it'll be too long before we ask you along again, either to, even to be part of a Wednesday show as well, because actually...
If we ever do a 24-hour live show or 24-hour podcast.
Yes, I can fill 20 of them. Yes, just let me know.
Put you and John on, it'll be fine.
Yeah. Adam and I, we just do that night shift bit.
We could do it as a competition. We could do a competition. Like, if we could have a poll going on Instagram. Like, so how long do you think the show will go on for?
If you do something like that, you do it for charity.
Oh yeah,
yeah, definitely.
I know. I think we
I
could.
love that.
I think we could. And actually, I really appreciate you giving your time to come on here. I hope people, when they listen to this, go and just check out your shows, because actually, from my perspective, going and listening and then looking on your YouTube, it was so engaging. And actually, like you said, it's a subject matter that very few people have got a clue about, and it really does scare the pants off you when you're trying to plan, when you're taking a young family, and when you actually see how good a time you guys had, and you actually listen to some of the advice that you've got. I think people would be really reassured by it as well. So
I appreciate it. And I massively appreciate the invite to come on and have this awesome conversation with you guys. And I would love to come back, and you guys are always welcome on Devonshire DIS. We'll certainly make that happen as well. And my closing statement is, I've got a very organized and planning ahead Mrs. G sitting downstairs. Lauren is the driving force of the reason why we make a family trip work, because of her organization. Because if it was left up to me, it would be all hell breaks loose, unfortunately.
There's always someone in the family that is that planner, and there's someone else that just turns up going, "Oh, what date are we going? As long as you've got the passports, we're fine." There's always one.
Yeah.
You're not that bad.
I don't know.
No, I'm definitely a planner.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, if you've enjoyed today's chat, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Really helps spread the Disney magic for those watching on YouTube. Appreciate a like and a subscribe as well. Don't forget to follow us as well as Adam, Devonshire Diz, and we're at GB Mickey Waffle on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram as well. And we'll be back soon with even more Disney insights, stories, and whoever knows what else. So until next time, we'll see you soon.
We'll see you real soon.
Now my wheels in motion and my